What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Grey Exchange. How's everybody doing tonight? Yeah, I was running a little bit behind. That's how it rolls sometimes, you know. Just had to go do some last minute checks and stuff like that. I was reading chat. I was keeping an eye on you guys. Let's go see who's in here. We got Joe Morgan, Dusty, Prepper Wizard, Mrs. Prepping Plumber, Be Charming, Keith, Gil, Elusive, Prep for It. Let me see who else. Am I missing anybody? Bonnie, Be Charming, Ugly Prepper, Wide Family. Monty, what's up, brother? Arkansas Prepper Network. I see my Grey Nation is in the house. All right, so enough of the pleasantries. Let me bring up my guest. If you guys don't know who she is, she's a great channel. She's a homesteader. Her name is Keto Homestead with Jess. So let's go ahead and welcome her to the stream. Hey, Jess, welcome to the stream. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's a decent day. I've had some ups and downs, but you know, those are the things that we deal with on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So, one thing that I wanted to touch base with before we get into the whole homesteading questions is, let me give you a backstory on me real quick so that maybe you'll, and then you can see where I'm going with this, because the name Keto Homestead with Jess. So years ago, it's been about 2 years now, I was a 402-pound man, very large man. I looked in the mirror one day and told myself that if I keep this up, I'm going to die. So I looked into keto, and what I did, it was very hard to do keto for me. So I did a modified version of it, which still worked, cut a lot of stuff out, and I've maintained this life of mine. And so I was very intrigued by the name of your channel, and I was wondering how that incorporates into your name. Like, how did it work out for you?
Well, I think it worked out really good because obviously I've been keto. I've been keto 8 years, and I've also been a homesteader for 10.
Mm-hmm.
So just putting the two together, and I thought it was pretty catchy, you know, Keto Homestead. Keto is a pretty popular thing, and so is homesteading. So why not just put them together and then add my name to it? So that's pretty much how I came up with that.
That's awesome. I think that's really cool. I know a lot of people who use keto and stuff like that, and I think it's cool that you incorporate that into your platform.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and dive into the homesteading question. Thank you, everybody from chat. So I always forget to say this for the first half hour. I'm not going to try to dig too much in the chat, guys. So I appreciate everybody being here. I see the chat. We're up to about 59 people in chat from 62. Okay, it's popping up. Everybody's jumping in here. So for the first half hour that we're going to be discussing, I'm just going to be asking Jess some questions about homesteading, and I hope that you guys listen, because I think she has a lot of value to bring to you guys if you guys are interested in homesteading and how it associates with prepping as well. So after that first half hour, then we'll go ahead and dive into questions from you guys, the chat, and go from there. And do I have anything else I wanted to address before I jump into anything? I don't think so. I think that's it. All right, Jess, so back to you. So the first question I like to ask you is, what was your purpose for starting a homestead? Like, what led you to become a homesteader? Was it something part of your family did, or was it something that you decided to do yourself?
Well, no, like it was more of intriguing to me. My mother-in-law and father-in-law, they were farmers, homesteaders. So they had all these antiques around, milk jugs and butter churns and books and just all these things laying around. And when I moved to this property with, I met my husband and moved here, there were like the barns were here, there were stables, there was fencings, but there was no animals. And I grew up in the city. So like I never had my own animals or anything. So you know, that was the first thought. I see in all these things, I'm like, man, there's like no animals here. I want animals. Like, I want to be a farmer. And my husband's like, no, I've been doing this all my life. I don't want to get into this. And I'm like, please, just like one chicken. Please just let me have one chicken. And he's like, all right. So he gave in. And then like after that, it was like a roller coaster because I was bringing animals home left and right. And he was like, oh, I knew I should have said no. So I just put life back into this place.
And how long have you guys been homesteading for now?
I personally, 10 years with my husband.
10 years. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good amount of time. You've probably very, very honed in some of your skills.
Yeah.
Now, being 10 years, are you at, like I said, I wanted to say, what does your dream homestead look like? Are you at that point now, or do you have more things that you want to do?
Well, I always want to add more, animals or plants and stuff like that. But I think I'm at my dream homestead. I have enough to handle right now. And we do produce about 85 to 90% of our food. So I'm happy where we're at.
That's awesome. How self-sufficient do you want to be? Like, do you want to be fully off the grid or?
No, I never want to be off the grid. It's too much work. Like we have a spring on the property, and like this past winter has been really rough. We had the pipes bust and things like that. And because we have the spring, we're a lot more fortunate than most people. All we have to do is walk down to the spring and grab a bucket full of water.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like the most off grid I want to be.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I've noticed with homesteaders that I've been talking with, there's a lot of responsibility when it comes to homesteading, in regards to tending to the animals, tending to gardens and general maintenance. Do you guys have a way that you guys do that? Is it's just you and your husband, or is there others that help you on the homestead?
No, it's just me and my husband. And yes, like homesteading is not a cakewalk whatsoever. People think, oh, you have animals, how fun. It's, it is fun, and it's really enjoyable to have the animals, but it's a lot of work. And I don't think people realize that. And me and my husband, we pretty much take shifts. He worked night shift all of his life, so he's not a morning person. So like I do all the chores in the morning of what I can. Usually it's just feeding the animals because it's hard for me to carry buckets of water and stuff. But I'll do the feeding in the mornings, and then he'll do the watering and the feeding in the evenings. So we take shifts. So I'm usually up at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and then mostly all day until afternoon, working on the homestead. And then I take my afternoon nap, and then that's when he wakes up and he takes over. So it just works for us that way.
Okay, that's awesome. Hey everybody in chat. I see Native and the Frenchman and Cat Lady and a few others popping in. Just want to welcome everybody. I appreciate everybody being here. We got 73 people in chat. We have 53 likes. We're there. We need to break the algorithm on YouTube, guys. So we need to keep on hitting that like button.
Yes.
And I see some Grey Nation members in the chat, which is awesome. I appreciate you guys for supporting the channel. So what kind of animals do you guys have, Jess? Is it just chickens, or do you have other animals?
No, I have chickens. I have ducks. I have turkeys, meat rabbits. I also have hogs, and I have 2 milk cows.
Okay, so when in regards to your animals, do you have some that are for that you use for meat and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, like most of the animals that I do have, they're my breeders. And then in the springtime coming up, I breed all my breeders, and then I raise whatever babies I have for either sell or for butcher for myself.
Do you guys butcher your own animals there on property?
Yes.
Okay.
I dispatch all the animals, and then my husband helps me butcher.
I think that's an important, a trade. I don't want to say trade, but it's something that a lot of people should learn. If things ever really do go south, is how to process meat and how to, butcher and stuff like that with the animals. It's definitely important.
Yeah, because there's a technique there. I mean, it's not just going out there dispatching an animal, and like you can really mess some stuff up. The smaller animals, it's not that big of a deal, but when you start getting into hogs and cattle, and like it's a job and it's a process, you really need to know what you're doing.
Now, besides the animals that you have on the homestead, do you guys do any hunting and stuff like that, or fishing?
Oh yeah. Well, no fishing, just because I never really liked seafood or any animal that came out of the water. It just wasn't for me. But since keto like really changes your taste buds. So now I'm into eating like salmon and trout and things like that. So this year, that's a goal, is to start fishing this year. And then, what was the other thing you asked? I'm sorry.
Hunting and
Hunting.
Yeah.
I've been an avid hunter since I was 14 years old. So, and I've lived all over the place in the United States. I lived in Montana 8 years. I did a lot of hunting in Montana. And since I've got a lot of back issues, so this year was like the first year I wasn't able to go out and hunt, which was really disappointing because I love it. But it is what it is.
I forgot to ask you, where you located at? Not specifically. I don't mean specifically.
Yeah.
Okay, like what state are you located in?
I'm in Ohio.
Okay. Because I know there's people all over the U.S. that do homesteading in different spots. And, I was going to ask, the reason I'm asking is how's the weather and how's the weather affected you this year on the homestead?
Oh, yeah. It's been bad this year. Like the winter has been pretty bad and hard on us. But, I mean, we're survivalists. We always survive. So we make it.
So if people wanted to ask you, and you may get this asked question even from people like, let's say, that are around you that may not be homesteaders and stuff like that, I always like to ask this question because I was thinking, what kind of skills do you feel that is valuable when becoming a homesteader? And I'll kind of give you an instance where I'm looking for is, like people who mend their own clothes, learning how to compost, how to grow and prune plants, take care of animals, all kinds of stuff like that.
I think as long as you have dedication and a will to do homesteading, anybody can do it. And homesteading is just like anything else. It's a learning process. And the only way you're going to learn to homestead is to actually get your hands dirty. That's the best way to learn. And you're not going to gain those skill sets unless you're out there doing it. And, everybody's different. Like, if you had a homestead, your homestead's not going to be ran like mine. Everybody has their own way of doing things. So like I said, the best way is just to get out there and do it.
That makes sense. Because I know some homesteaders, I was talking to someone that they make soap and I thought that was kind of cool, and they do some really interesting things, which leads in my next question. Some homesteaders, they grow their crop for themselves and to be self-sufficient on their food, but they also grow crops or they do things to make money from the homestead. Do you guys do any kind of stuff like that other than what you do here on YouTube?
No, we just mainly provide for us, and sometimes we'll, give the overflow to neighbors or the elderly and stuff like that. But for us here in my town, it's really hard to make any money because, like, we have a farmer's market, but they want you to pay like a massive amount of money just to rent a booth to sell your vegetables. It's like $375 just to rent a booth to sell your produce. So in my mind, that's not worth it. Like, I'm not going to sell that much produce to cover the cost of that rental. So on occasion, I'll have like a neighbor stop by and buy a bushel of this or bushel of that, but it's really hard. Like, some states, it's very hard to get rid of your produce like that.
Yeah, I've noticed it differs from state to state. Like here in Florida, they have a flea market with a kind of like a produce attached to it, and I've talked to the vendors there because I like to buy fresh vegetables and stuff rather than going to the grocery store. I like to go through them because they're more trustworthy, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
And they told me it depends on the days, but I think here it's only like $25 a table for the day or something like that, which to me is not too bad.
No, that would be nice. And like Wide Family Farm, she's also in Ohio, but she's up further north from me. She can go out to a farmer's market and set up for free. Like, they don't have a charge. And I'm like, what the heck? We're only like 2.5 to 3 hours away from each other. And it's just insane. Like,
so the rules differ from county to county, I guess, in Ohio.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense. It should be, across the board. It should be a state thing versus a county thing, but it's a win some, lose some kind of thing, I guess, unfortunately, how laws and things like that work with stuff.
Yeah.
So being that you guys grow a lot of food and you slaughter animals and stuff like that, and I mean slaughter animals for food, guys, don't get my words twisted here. Do you guys do a lot of canning, freeze drying, or storing? Like, do you have a root cellar, stuff like that?
I do a lot of canning and a lot of dehydrating, and then I also do a lot of freezing. I haven't ever used a freeze dryer. Like, I've not gotten into that. We don't have a root cellar, although I'd love to have one. And then, like I said, we have a spring. I would love to have a spring house one day, but those are just goals. You know, the homesteading life never stops. There's always a goal to reach. There's always something to do. You're never done.
Yeah, I've heard that from a lot of folks. Because and this is kind of touch on some of that stuff is the cost of starting a homestead, because I know there's a lot of equipment involved depending on the size of your homestead, from either tractors, excavators, skid steers, dozers, you know, fencing, basic tools from hammers, screwdrivers, ladders. Like, I don't know how you guys incorporate that into your lives, and how much equipment do you guys have on hand?
Well, we don't have any equipment. We have, like, the things that we have are very minimum. We have like a lawnmower, a riding lawnmower, and then we have a rototiller, you know, a gas operated rototiller, and that's it. Like, everything's done by hand here. And we just try to do everything the least expensive as possible. I mean, yeah, I'd love to have a tractor and other equipment and make our lives much easier, but that is not realistic for us. So we just did it the old fashioned way, like my husband's parents did. So.
No, that's really cool, because the reason I asked that is just going out and buying normal tools like hammers and stuff like that, or stuff to repair equipment. Even a ladder. I bought a ladder not too long ago to deal with Christmas lights and stuff down the road, that I had an old one. I had to buy a new one, and it was like $50-$60 just for a ladder. And you know, it doesn't sound like much, but it adds up after a while.
Oh, yeah, definitely adds up, especially if you're doing fencing for animals and posts and stuff like that. And that's another thing. Like, when you're a homesteader, you have to really watch what you're doing. You have to be very frugal. And like, most of our stuff we were fortunate to have already here for us. But if we were, you know, to go out and get new posts or fencing or anything, the first thing I do is look on the Facebook selling wall or our local selling walls. You know, like, it's not an option for us to go out and buy brand new things. So I try to be as frugal as possible.
Do you guys, like, what's the size of your homestead, if you don't mind me asking?
We have 5 acres.
5 acres, okay. Because I know some people, there's homesteaders next to each other, and sometimes, you know, they'll share equipment, or they'll share, you know, they trade, you know, barter and stuff for different things, from what I've understood.
Yeah, and we do a lot of bartering too.
That's good. It's like the old ways, you know. That's when the good times were, you know, a thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So you said you have a creek that you get most of your water supply from?
A spring, yeah.
A spring?
We have the spring, and then the creek runs behind like the property as well. So, and I mean, that's awesome. I love having a spring. That's where we get all of our water from. We're not on city water or anything like that. But at the same time, you still have your downfalls too, because like in the summer we deal with like really harsh winters, and then in the spring it's all floods. So we'll have floods like clear up to my thighs in the springtime. So there's always your good and your bad.
Real quick, I want to thank Van Life with Gina for joining the Grey Gang. Really appreciate that, Gina. It goes a long ways to support the channel. To touch on that real quick, if you guys aren't unaware, I do have a membership tab now, and I've done some videos on that, so I'm not going to go too deep into it. I have the Grey Gang, the Grey Nation, and yes, I'm going to say it, due to popular demand, I have the G-Spot. So if you guys don't know what that is, it's an angry prepper thing, and a lot of subscribers ask me to put that as a tier. I think Monty is my member. Be ready. Be ready. I can't believe you chose that tier, Be Ready, but that is hilarious. As you guys can see it in chat, Be Ready just joined the G-Spot. So everybody thank Jason of the Angry Prepper for coming up with that tier, and thank you so much, Be Ready. You're awesome. And if you guys don't know who Be Ready is, please go check out his channel, as well as Van Life with Gina. Go beyond the prepper realm of things and check out some of these channels. And I'm not sure if you guys don't know who I'm interviewing, Keto Homestead with Jess. her link is in my description, and some of the mods will probably also drop that link throughout that. So you guys should go ahead and give her a like and a share and check out her videos and see what she's about. She has some good content. All right. So sorry to jump off that thing. I saw that and I wanted to let everybody know, Jess. Because the reason I was asking about the water thing is I know a lot of homesteaders, they dig wells, and I've been learning like how deep wells are supposed to be in certain areas. I've been learning on, gallons per minute and the flow and all kinds of stuff like that, because depending on, like you said, where you live, everybody does things different. Here in Florida, the water table is way different than it is in Ohio.
Right.
That always kind of, has me thinking, because I've been trying to research a lot of this stuff. And that's why I like interviewing a lot of you homesteaders, because I'm taking each one of you guys, like Quebec Homestead and you and several others, and kind of taking information. And so, because that's my goal, I'm hoping by the end of next year, me and the wife and the fam will be starting our homestead, and trying to get a heads up on that by talking to you guys and interviewing you folks.
Yeah. Well, my biggest suggestion is to make sure you have pins and fences and everything squared away before you get animals. Because once you have the animals, it's crazy.
Now, I've noticed a lot of people, here where I'm going to think I may run into issues at is, and I know there's different zones for gardening. So I'm looking to find some gardeners to bring on the channel so I can pick their brain. I know Sean M at the Green Thumb Prepper is also a good resource. Is the soil. Like, we have to do a lot of above ground beds versus in the ground, because like I said, here in Florida, there's lots and lots of sand down here. I mean, do you guys have really good soil up there where you're at?
Oh yeah, we have really good, rich, dark brown soil. So
that's awesome.
And that's the thing, like a lot of people talk about planting and, raised beds and stuff, but I don't have any experience in raised beds. I don't have to. Literally, I can have my husband till up the garden and I throw seeds out and they pop up. And that's like my extent to gardening.
Well, I mean, you must have some sort of green thumb if it's working out. What kind of stuff do you grow on your homestead?
I grow everything you can think of. I do potatoes, sweet potatoes. I do your leafy greens like spinach and kale and Swiss chard. And then your carrots and onions. And I mean, I do the whole 9 yards. There's so many things that I grow. I might not grow. They might not all come up, but they do grow. Most of them grow. But
now, are you what I call a meticulous gardener, where you have everything set up in rows and separated? No. Okay, because I've been watching this he's an Aussie homesteader, and he grows. It's like everything is everywhere, but he grows so much stuff, and it all grows, and it surprises me. He has peppers here and tomatoes there and berries, and he even has like banana plants. He has stuff everywhere. Like he has the small orchard. I think he has about 65 plants or trees or whatever you want to call them in his orchard, which is awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. Like, there's like, and that's like my goal this year is to become a better gardener, because I see a lot of people out there and they have these meticulous rows and little boxes and everything's growing all perfect and beautiful. And mine's just like everywhere. Like it's like a food forest or whatever, And then like what most people don't know, I also have a second garden, and it's nothing but fruit trees and berries. So I have my vegetable garden, and then I have a lot where it's nothing but berries.
I'm going to jump the gun here just because Be Ready is a member of, and he is one of the highest tiered members. He's asking me a question, or he's asking you a question. He says, "What is the hardest food plant you have grown so far?"
Celery.
Celery, really?
Celery is really hard for me to grow for some reason. I've not been successful yet with it. I would say celery and cauliflower. Yeah, those are the two hardest.
Yeah, my wife, she's been growing garlic. It's actually elephant garlic. She's been practicing with that, sweet potatoes, peppers, and we're getting into tomatoes here soon, just to kind of start learning the techniques before we get the homestead, so we can kind of have a basis, an idea of what's going on.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
And on the prepping side of things, we prep a lot of seeds. I don't know how you guys do with seeds. If you guys use the seeds from the plants and vegetables and stuff that you're growing and then reuse them and repurpose them, or if you guys buy heirloom seeds or stuff like that.
No, I don't buy seeds. I either trade them or I don't. People are always giving away seeds on YouTube, so you have that avenue, and then you have all kinds of seed saving groups on Facebook, and you can get in there and swap seeds and stuff. So I rarely buy seeds ever.
Interesting. I always like to ask this question: is do you, when it comes to homesteaders, I know some homesteaders are deep into this side of things, and some aren't. In regards to, let's say, I know I'll just grab the first one that's next to me. I don't know if you can see that there, if it'll focus. Into the medicinal, natural remedies and stuff like that. Do you guys grow any of those type of plants?
This year I'm going to. This will be the first year. I'm more of a forager, so I like to, scavenge all the stuff I know, like mullein and things like that. But this year is going to be a huge learning curve for me on the gardening because I'm trying to up my game on everything. And like the book, I'm going to be doing herbs for the first time. And it's really intimidating to me. Herbs are super intimidating because there's so many different varieties and there's so many different planting techniques. Some vine out, some are really super invasive and stuff. So there's a lot of learning between herbs.
Yeah, I've been looking at a lot of different things because a lot of people, I've noticed some homesteaders will start getting into the whole, they'll get a beehive, you know what I mean, and run bees to help pollinate their plants and stuff like that, plus the honey that they can derive from bees itself. Have you ever thought about doing something like that down the road?
Yeah, I have done that. It was not a good idea for me. I envy people that can raise bees. It's just not me. We went out and got a beehive. We had a swarm of bees get into the side of the house. So we hired somebody, and they were honeybees, and we hired somebody to come out and get the swarm and put them in a beehive for me. And it was either my turkey was standing there every day, eating the bees out of the hive as they were flying out. And then it was the weather got so cold. I didn't know what I was doing. It was a horrible experience. I spent so much money, trying to do these bees. And I was just no, bees are not for me.
It's like you said, it's a lot of trial and error. What works for some may not work for all, so I agree with you there. It's sometimes you got to try something and see how it plays out. You just never know.
Yeah. And homesteading is it's so broad. There's so many things you could do on your homestead. Like you said earlier, the soap making, there's just so many things and it's never ending. Your mind is always going what else can I do to be self-sufficient? What else can I add?
No, it's the same way as the prepper mindset. And that being said, I have a few questions for you. Don't get scared. And some people freak out with the prepper questions. But I think homesteaders are part preppers, just like I think bushcrafters and survivalists and, a lot of people, the RV groups, there's a lot of people that have prepper tendencies, as I call them. And one question I always have with homesteaders, okay, so on your homestead, how far are you from, let's say, the nearest town?
10 miles.
10 miles. Okay. So in an emergency, if something happens on a homestead, how long does it take an ambulance or a fire department to get to your location?
Oh, 2 seconds.
Oh, so it's that quick. So you have some rural fire departments or something that are in your area?
Yeah, I live in a township. So my fire department is a township fire department, and it's actually 2 doors down from me.
Oh, okay. So then you're good, because I've spoken to some that say it could take 10, 15 minutes before someone shows up. And it worries me because some people don't prep medical. And if you've known me on my channel, I'm really big on the medical preps, being my history as a medic in the military. And it scares me that some people don't have stuff like tourniquets or ways to stop the bleed, because I know accidents can happen, especially on a farm. Bad things can happen quickly. So I've always been, curious how some people deal with that on the homestead if they're not close to, emergency services and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then that being said, that if things go really sideways, those places won't be accessible anymore. You have to rely on your own, and hopefully people are researching and learning medical preps, as well as the food and the water and fire starting and all those skills associated with prepping.
And that's a good thing about me. I've been a nurse's aide for 20 years. So not only do I have that skill, but my grandpa was a radiologist doctor, and then several of my aunts are RNs. So I've been around the medical field for a really long time. And because they all work in a different area in the medical field, I was able to pick up little things from each of them. So yeah, my medical supply is pretty extensive.
That's awesome. Hey, Liz, I'm glad you could make it. I just saw your name pop up there, so I wanted to say hello. I know we were talking earlier on the comment section. I'm glad you can make it. So we are at the 30-minute mark, folks. Time flies when you're having a good time and great conversation. So now if you guys want to ask Jess some questions in regards to homesteading, anything that's, and be polite, of course, as always, but we have a good crowd in here. Just put it in all caps. You can put at GreyMan or, something like that, or just, hey, GreyMan, I want to ask this with Jess. Pa Outdoors said, hello, Jess.
Hello. Also, I want to say too about, the medical stuff, like we heat with wood. So we have a wood burner stove, and I obviously have back issues, but my husband has blood clots. So he has to be really careful running a chainsaw. So when we're out in the woods, like I don't know if anybody knows this, and do your own research. Don't go by my word, but do your own research. But I always carry a huge, huge jar of cinnamon. Cinnamon will clot the blood. So if something was to happen and he cut himself with that chainsaw, I can throw that cinnamon on him and at least give him enough time to get to a hospital.
That's awesome. And that's good to know. I have seen cinnamon as well. And I learned a trick from chefs. Chefs, they have sharp knives and accidents happen in the kitchen. Cayenne pepper, powder works really, really good as a blood clotting agent as well. And this is great stuff to know, because you never know when that stuff could come in handy. I mean, usually people might have that in the, in their cabinet, you know what I mean? And knowing, and having that access to it, I think is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So Arkansas Prepper Network says, Jess, what is the most challenging aspect or area of your homestead?
Probably keeping the hogs in. The hogs are a pain in the butt. They will squeeze through anything. They'll break through anything. They're very, very destructive. You have to have literally a bulletproof pin for them. And if anybody's been around hogs, you have a 300-pound hog get out and you're chasing a 300-pound hog around. It's not fun.
I can imagine. That's yeah. I've seen some stuff. I've been to some hog farms here locally, and watching what goes down sometimes is like, wow, it does take a lot of work.
Oh yeah. It was funny because a couple years ago, before my back injury, I had 3 hogs and they escaped and they went down to the neighbors. And the neighbors called me, hey, your hogs are here. So me and my husband jumped in the truck, drove down to the neighbors. I had a bucket of feed. Well, we couldn't load them on the truck because the truck was too high. We couldn't pick up 300-pound hogs, So I'm running down my state route with a bucket of feed with 300-pound hogs chasing me. And the neighbors are all driving down the road honking and laughing at me. And I'm freaking out because I don't want the pigs to catch me with the feed. So I'm trying to run as fast as I can. It was ridiculous.
Arkansas Prepper Network says, unless you've oiled it right. Exactly. I don't know if he meant the pigs or not, because I know some people have challenges where they oil the pigs and chase after them. It depends. Here, piggy. Gil has a question for you. He says, Jess, what is the most fun part of homesteading?
I'd have to say my pigs too.
That's awesome.
I love my pigs. I could never imagine homesteading without them. They're definitely my babies.
Wow, Liz, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you so much, Liz. You are awesome. You've been a supporter since day one, Liz. I truly appreciate that. Thank you so much. Arkman Wild says, hey to me and you as well.
Hello.
Have you seen Arkman Wild? He has a
yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yes. I think it's cool that he has his son, just like Hutch. They had their sons involved, and I think bringing family in and teaching them some of these skills are very awesome.
Yeah. Especially since most of these skills are dying off.
Yes, agreed. It's I was talking with Hutch in Arkansas Living today about trades and the way things have changed and the way some of this stuff is dying off. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I say Be Ready Today has a question. He says, "Is it hard to learn how to process a hog?"
Yes, for me anyway. In the beginning, it was horrible because I was just going off of YouTube and off charts. And there's a guy in Australia that I really watch. He's a butcher. But the thing is, like, he was butchering, as I was following along the video, he was butchering a pig that was probably about this big. And I was butchering a pig that was 600 pounds. So trying to find the cuts of the meat was like really difficult. And I had never processed a pig ever in my life. I was like, oh, I've done deer. Like, it can't be any harder than a deer, you know, like, I got this. No, I hacked that hog up so bad. Like, my pork chops, like, I was trying to cut the pork chops and I cut the pork chop bone where there was no pork chop meat on it. It was a mess. So it's definitely a learning process. And I really wish that I had like a pig farmer around me that could actually walk me through the process. I just wasn't fortunate enough to have somebody to do that. So,
that's awesome.
But like I said, you learn by your mistakes. That's the only way you're going to learn.
Agreed. Hutch told me one time, he said, you just got to jump in and just deal with the missteps and move forward.
Yeah. I mean, the meat was still edible, so.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, Cat Lady Prepper 23 Meow. She likes to hear her name the whole long. She says, hello, Jess and GreyMan. Cat Lady, we are sending prayers. If you guys can keep Cat Lady Prepper, her father's in the hospital. He had a stroke. So please keep him in your prayers. You know how we like to support our community members. All right, let me see if I missed anything in chat. I had paused the chat right there. The next video be charming. Question for Harvey Black has a question. What is the best way for a single prepper man to signal his interest to a woman other than showing his pig butchering skills?
I don't know. I don't have an answer for that one.
The best way for a single prepper man to signal his interest to a woman other than showing his pig butchering skills. That's a pretty good question, Harvey. Oh man, that is great. I love this community, and that's why I've been trying to get more homesteaders, more survivalists, more bushcrafters, more people involved into the prepper community, because I feel like we all have the same train of thought and we have some of the same mindsets per se.
Oh yeah. Bonnie says, oh, it's a lot different butchering a deer and a hog. Yeah, I learned that the hard way.
And see, that's where I excel at, and maybe that I can transition that into moving down the road. Is I learned hunting at an early age. I've been Florida most of my life, but I lived in Michigan for from 10 to about 16 or 17. So I learned hunting and I learned how to field dress animals, be it deer, rabbits, squirrels, and stuff like that, and how to cook and process the meat. So I thought that was something that always stuck in my head,
Yeah. And that's what I want to say, going back to the prepping and stuff. Like, I hope nobody takes offense to this, but honestly, I think like the homesteaders and the farmers were always the ultimate like OG preppers, even though they never called themselves that, like during the Depression, that's what they all did. That's what the farmers did. They learned to survive and prep all that stuff, but they never called themselves that. So I really look up to, the people that went through the Depression and their stories, and they have a lot of knowledge.
The people in chat are making me laugh because they're referring to Harvey's question. I always throw this in there. Now I don't know, Jess, maybe you've done this or haven't. I know some when you were young, did you ever build a fort out in the woods when you were younger?
Oh yeah. And when we were younger, like the winters here in Ohio now are pretty mild. When I was a kid, we used to get tons and tons of snow, and we used to make me and my siblings, we used to build like igloos. And we'd be in the igloos for hours and hours. We'd have to be, called in to come inside because we had so much fun. And then as kids, we always played like we were Indians and made teepees out of sticks and tried to cook the field corn and fry up the crawdads from the creek. So yeah, we played all kinds of stuff like that as kids.
Take care, Elusive. I might have missed that. Be safe, people. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for stopping by. Tons of snow. I lost my train of thought. So, and that's what, I think kids aren't doing that these days. Kids are stuck in front of a console, a video game system, or, YouTube. What is the other one's called? What is that? The TikTok thing. They don't go out in the woods. They don't go out and experience things. They don't do much outdoors anymore. They're stuck in a room. And I think that's half the issue, the generation that's behind us.
Oh yeah. And it's still like, women my age and stuff like that. Like, I really have to have patience, and it's really hard for me because I've lived this lifestyle so long. But I'll have, coworkers, they used to come out and visit and stuff. And I had a friend come out, and I had a bunch of strawberries growing in the garden, and I picked it off the vine, and I was like, here, go ahead and eat the strawberries. And she was like, I'd rather not. And I'm like, why? And she was like, well, I want to wash it first. And I'm like, why? And she was like, well, I want to make sure there's no bugs or dirt on it. And I was like, there's no bugs or dirt on it, I promise. No, I'd just rather wash it. And I'm just like, oh, like that's the whole point of having a garden, is to eat the fresh stuff out of it. She was like, nope. So my patience has been really tested at times too.
Tennessee Tactical One has a question. He says, Jess, I'm wanting to sell my suburban home, which is paid for, and buy a property with a piece of land. What are the basics for me to get started? I know it's kind of a broad question, but maybe you can get them the gist of it.
Oh, I don't have any advice for you. I mean, if it was personally me, I would sell my home and move to a state that had pretty cheap property. That would be the start.
B Charming says, have you seen what's going on outside those walls? Do you mean the walls outside your home and what's going on? Yes, unfortunately, we are seeing that. If that's what you mean, B Charming. See, now B Charming, she has bees. That's one person I'm going to hit up if I ever decide to jump into bees.
Yeah.
Now, I forgot to mention, you said you do canning. Is it pressure canning, or do you do it? I know there's a couple different types of canning.
Yeah, I pressure can and I water bath can. So pressure canning is for like low acid foods, like your meats and things like that. And water bath canning is for high acid foods.
Gotcha.
So yeah, and that's literally when summertime comes and everything's in the garden and I'm processing things. That's what I do day and night, is canning.
Now, one question, I forgot who I asked. I think I might have asked Quebec Homestead, but I was wondering, do you guys do any pickling? I've been hearing things about pickling, and a lot of people pickle a lot of different things that I didn't even know you can pickle.
Yeah, no, I don't do it. I don't like it. Like, I love pickles, don't get me wrong, but I'm like very specific. Like, the only brand pickle I like is Vlasic. I don't know why. And I've tried for years to copy that recipe, and I just can't get it down. I really don't like home canned pickles. And there's like other things I've tried, like dilly beans. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah.
I've tried dilly beans and I really didn't care for that. So I pretty much gave up pickling.
Wide Family Farm, he says he has so many pickles right now, they're coming out of his ears. You could always sell them. I don't know if that's an option for you, brother.
Pickle hog's feet. Oh, not for me. Thank you though.
Be Charming says pickling is fun. Have you ever, I know this is probably going to throw you for a loop, but have you ever tried the pickled eggs?
I haven't tried them, and my husband really likes them, so I am going to try them this year. He wants some pickled like beet eggs or whatever, and I've never grown beets and I've never pickled eggs, so that will be an experience this year.
Beets are very healthy. I've seen them used for a lot of different, even medicinal or consumption as well.
Yeah, I've been reading up on them, and they say they're really, really good for your eye health too, for vision.
Yeah, Bonnie Bethel says she loves dilly beans.
I guess when I tried the dilly beans, like it wasn't bad. It just wasn't a green bean. And I guess I was expecting a green bean, but I don't know. Not me.
I haven't seen this one. Eric Johnson says bread and butter flavored pickled eggs are the best.
Huh. I haven't seen that one either.
And beet eggs are good. Okay, interesting. We got all kinds of stuff coming in. Pickled carrots. What do we got? Pickled eggs and sardines will cause biological neurotic gas from
I would imagine so.
Prepping Plumber always has this great stuff, man.
Sounds like they're speaking from experience.
Anyone else who's been to any bar in the Northeast has a pickled egg. Yeah. The Frenchman, I agree. Mustard pickles. Airborne Prepper said he accidentally got 100 pounds of canned beets. But he said they're good, though.
Yeah. Bonnie is telling me you can do pickled pig's feet. Yeah. I don't know if I'd like it, though. Pickled cauliflower. Like everybody in here is into pickling. Come on.
Yeah. That's why I always like to ask that question. Kimchi is good. It's spicy. It'll mess with your nose hairs, at least for me. Sorry, I'm just kind of like looking at chat here real quick to make sure I'm not missing anything because it's moving relatively fast. And you'll notice this, Jess. Have you ever done a live stream on your own, Jess? Like throwing up a live other than your pajama parties and stuff?
Yeah, it's been a while, but yeah, I have.
Because as you grow, chat starts moving a lot faster.
Yeah.
Eric Johnson says, I was pickled in 1982 to 1993. I hear you, brother. A lot of us were. I'm pretty sure I know where you're going with that. Pickled seaweed is awesome.
Huh, never heard of that one either.
I like to make corn relish. Great on dogs. You know, I'm into a lot of Asian cuisine just because of the health aspect to it. So I can incorporate that into my diet to maintain a proper weight and proper health. You know, kind of touching back on that keto thing, it's, you know, doing the modified version of what I did. Every 6 months I get an annual review and they say, hey man, you're doing good. All your health comes back. You're not a diabetic anymore. I was a diabetic as well. And all that's been gone for several years now. So it shows that diet has a lot to do with your health.
Oh yeah. It was funny because like when I was doing the keto, like hardcore, well, I still do it, but I'll never quit doing it. But the people that were seeing me every day, you know, they didn't really see the change. So I would have to like pull up pictures of what I looked like before. And they're like, that's not you. And I mean, these are people I'd worked with for 20 years that see me every single day. And they're like, no way. And I'm like, yeah, like that's where I started. It was insane. And just like you, I was pre-diabetic. I wasn't full diabetic yet. So it just really, really changed my life.
Interesting. Congratulations, Eric. That's awesome to hear.
I tried I tried keto and only got as far as peanut butter fat bombs. Yum.
Yeah, a lot of people do the fat bombs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So just you know, time's ticking away. We got another 12 to 14 minutes left. If you guys have any questions for Jess, you know, put them on all caps. And I do have one that just popped up. Let's go ahead and put that on the screen from Prepper Wizard. He says, what are zoning requirements for farming at Jess's homestead?
What is that?
I'm not familiar, so I'm wondering.
I'm teasing. No, we don't have zoning. Like, if we do, I don't know about it. Like, we've been, like I said, my husband's on this property for like 80 years, so we don't like really follow rules. Everybody else around us hasn't been. They're all like new kids on the block per se. We don't. Yeah, we're like the family that's been here forever.
Two things. Have you ever thought, before I get into this one, have you ever thought about videoing, like, let's say that, I don't know how YouTube friendly it is processing a pig or something like that?
Yeah, I have thought about it, and YouTube really frowns on it. Also, I cut my piglets, the boars, when they're born and stuff. And I really wanted to do a pig cutting video and teach people how to do that. But YouTube really frowns on it. And then you get all kinds of like PETA people coming after you. Like I have farmers that have been on YouTube for years, and they actually put out a video, and that's why I was thinking about doing it. And he was actually getting death threats and things. So I guess it's a pretty serious thing to put out there.
Wow. Yeah. I understand that. Prepping Plumber is asking for a prayer request. Son is having dental procedure, put to sleep at 4. We are more nervous than him. So prayers sent your way, brother. Sometimes
my husband just jumped in the chat and he says, thanks, Jess, 80 years. Whatever, 60 years. Sorry.
Hold on, let's pull that up. I just saw it. There we go. Let's put him right up there. Does he ever come on camera with you?
Every once in a blue moon. He really does not like the camera. He likes to talk, and he'll come out the side of the camera sometimes and talk and scare people, but he doesn't like his face up there.
Hoot Owl Holler says, Jess, do you put lime to keep down the pig smell?
No. My pigs are in a very large pen, and they don't smell. They don't, I mean, like, they have a smell to them, but it's not a strong odor because we keep them in such a big pen. They're not all right there pooping on top of each other.
I'm not sure what Hawkeye means, but he said, can you let your hair down? Peta burritos. You see what I'm missing here? Make sure I'm not missing.
Courtney over at Wide Family Farm. Every time my husband comes in the side of the computer and talks, she can't see him, but she always looks up like, oh, like it's the voice of God or something. It's hilarious.
That's great. You know, and it's opposite with me. I'm trying to get my wife. She wants to do YouTube, but she doesn't know what she wants to do. If she wants to do cooking or gardening, but she's like, I don't know if I can be in front of the camera. I'm like, babe, you just got to do it. I didn't want to do it either. And I was freaked out for a month, but it's working out. So I said, give it a shot. You know, you might have 5 followers. You might get 10,000 followers. You just don't know.
It's really hard though. It's really intimidating when you first start, I think. Like, I really hate when people watch my first videos. It's really embarrassing, but it is what it is. Everybody's got to start somewhere.
Harvey Black says, what are your homestead plans for 2021?
Just to be a better gardener.
My wife is doing that, and I'm trying to learn as she does it as well. I need to get out there and help her a little bit more. Bonnie says her pigs would only poop in one corner of their pen. I guess that's kind of like almost like potty trained.
Yeah, they do. Mine do the same thing.
You know, let me put this up, Liz. Liz, she made an appearance. It was on our anniversary on Grimm's live stream. He dared her, and Grimm had that brief moment on Grimm's live stream. It was pretty cool. She showed her face, and people were amazed because her hair is like down past, you know, her bum. She has really, really, really long hair, which gets all over the place, but I enjoy it.
Yep.
Let me see here if I miss anything. Have her watch Mama Z's Texas Kitchen. Thanks, Gil. I appreciate that. I'll definitely because she does watch her own YouTube channel. She follows certain places. At GreyMan, cooking and gardening, they go hand in hand. The canning and the wall, she's hooked. Yeah, I agree, B. Liz, it was on February 14th. It was Valentine's Day. See, here being the smart man that I am, I figured no matter how old I get, I will always remember February 14th because it falls on a holiday, regardless if you agree with the holiday or not. But I will always know that I'll get a gift or do something special that day. And being it's my anniversary, I can never mess up. That was my ploy. Trying to see if anything else here. Asked, what is the easiest? Purple Mav asked, what is the easiest keto-friendly veggie to grow in your opinion?
Kale.
Kale?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I eat a lot of kale.
What is this?
Kale's nice though because it just keeps growing back.
It says, Jess, how big do you want the carrot to be for the carrot challenge?
Courtney, go away.
Have you heard of this thing? I heard there's something going around called the Shed Challenge too. That's floating around with homesteaders and some other folks.
The Shed Wars, you mean?
Shed Wars. There you go. That's it. Shed Wars.
Yeah.
I've been seeing like that. A lot of that float around.
Yeah. Courtney, at Wide Family Farm, she put out a carrot challenge. Whoever could grow the biggest and heaviest, or the heaviest and longest carrot. So we're doing a carrot challenge.
Bruce asked, do you make kale soup?
I haven't, but I do like to make cream kale.
Cream? That sounds tasty.
Yeah, it's like cream spinach just with kale. It's really good. You're welcome. Now, Courtney, she is a very, very well-educated gardener. So if you need a gardener to interview, she is very educated.
Well, Courtney, I know I have a couple Tuesdays booked. I do some special lives on Wednesdays, depending on the guest, if they can't get on Tuesdays. I just try to make sure I'm not stepping on anybody's toes. But in every single one of my videos, and even underneath this video, is my email. If you want to reach out to me, maybe we could set something up and have you on the channel, because I'm definitely looking to get some gardeners on the channel and kind of pick their brains and speak to them. You know what I mean? I know that sounds weird, zombie-ish kind of thing, picking their brains, but that's just the way I say it.
Prepping 00777 is asking, you said you raised Steve. How hard is that to raise? Are you talking about stevia?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either. I think they're talking about stevia, but I'm not sure. If you're talking about stevia, it's really hard to germinate, but once it goes, it's pretty prolific.
Kaylin Strain, that's cool. I'm glad. I mean, you got to start somewhere. And Courtney did say stevia.
Okay.
And Pepper 007 did reiterate stevia.
Yeah.
It's sometimes if you're on your phone or if you're on your phone, it's really hard to type sometimes.
Yeah, the stevia, like once you get it growing, it's pretty prolific, and you can keep trimming it and cutting it, and it'll just keep on coming back. So it's pretty nice. But it is, unless you live in a really warm climate, you have to bring it in for the winter.
That's pretty cool. I dehydrate kale, spinach, and crumble it up into lots of different food soups and casseroles. Maybe that's a way I can get my daughter to eat kale. Maybe I should start doing that. All my kale that I harvest in my spinach, I put in Mylar bags in the freezer, and I just put it in a lot of smoothies, and just do like frozen smoothies with my kale and spinach. Harvey Black says, what's the funniest mistake you made on the homestead?
Oh, there's a lot. I can't think of one that I've made. Ooh. I guess, I don't know about funny. My friend, when we were cutting pigs one time, we were cutting a piglet, and then intestines came out, and we had to like put them back in. And I was freaking out. I didn't know what to do. And I asked her if she had super glue. And we actually fixed the piglet with super glue. And that piglet lived until butcher day. So
that's awesome.
I guess that's not funny, but
yeah,
that's a pretty big accident, you know.
Busted Beak says, I need to get back on keto. Any suggestions?
Go hard. I know a lot of people, they say when they come to me, I actually train people on how to do keto, and they say they want to start out small. They want to cut out sugars really small and work their way into it. But if you do that, that's really hurting yourself, because the whole point of keto is to bring those insulin levels down. As long as you're eating sugar and carbs, you're keeping that insulin in your body. So I always suggest to go hard. If you're going to do it and stick with it.
Yeah, I tricked my daughter one time. I told her, she thought it was mac and cheese, and it was cauliflower, like a cauliflower casserole, and I made it taste really good. I baked it like it was like a homemade macaroni and cheese, and she actually thought that was macaroni and cheese, because I've been trying to help her, eat healthier, and I also use cauliflower rice and mix it with cheese and stuff like that, and she seems to like it, so it's a plus.
Huh.
Prepper 007 said poor pig.
It was all right. It lived until butcher day. It had a good life.
All right, guys, we are pretty much at the hour mark. Do you guys have any last questions before we let Jess go? I figured we get the last couple of questions in there before we, because she has to go here very soon. I'm kind of seeing if anything pops up real quick. But Jess, I want to say thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate it. I think everybody should go check your channel out. Very good stuff on there. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Jess's channel. If I can get one of my mods to drop it in, the links down again on for Jess's channel. Also, if you guys can drop I have the link also in the description of my video as well. And we did good, Jess. We only got one thumbs down. There's just someone that just didn't like hearing about homesteading. There's always one.
That's all right. Well, thank you for having me on the show, and everybody in the chat, I want to thank you for all the questions. It was fun. I really enjoyed coming on here as a guest, and I just hope to see you all soon, and we stay connected.
For sure. Thanks so much, Jess. I also want to say thanks to everybody in chat. Thanks for being here tonight. Thanks for supporting the channel. I want to thank all the Grey Gang, Grey Nation, and G-Spot members for their membership to the channel, and my mods. I want to thank my mods. You guys are awesome and helping me out and maintain the chat and having a good night and making sure everything runs smoothly. So that being said, guys, we're going to go ahead and end this. Thank you guys so much. I will be doing my Geared Up Wednesday. Hopefully I can pull it off. I got to get really early in the morning tomorrow and try to do this Geared Up Wednesday. And then Thursday, I will be live again, as long as nothing is going crazy over there. I will be live at 10:30 p.m. on the free-for-all. I call it's the Hangout Late Night with Gray, but usually I bring anybody who wants to jump on and kind of just shoot the breeze and talk about whatever. So it's an open forum. So check me out on Thursday nights at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll put a thumbnail up here in the next day or so, and I'll be popping up the video tomorrow afternoon, because doing the whole filming and editing, doing the gear thing takes quite some time, more than people would expect. But that being said, God bless. Everybody have a good night, and thank you for being here. And we'll see you on the rebound.